Hey guys, Chris here from Kite Republic, here today to talk about the world's most sought after inflatable paddle brand, Red Paddle. So a few different bits to check off today. I guess the first one is, why would you go inflatable versus a rigid board? That's sort of the question we get from most people looking at their first boards and starting to work out what they're going to have for the family, themselves, for surfing, for whatever else. So the first one we'll be checking off, why inflatable? The second one, why Red Paddle? So they are the world's leading brand by a country mile. They do so many things right, but why do I want a Red Paddle board versus, other boards on the market as well? And then the third one is, which board and which style will suit me, depending on what I want to use it for. So for that first one, why inflatable? Now this is a funny one because I reckon 3 years ago, still 3-5 years thereabouts, people were coming in with this idea that inflatable boards were like a gratified beach ball. They were these weak little things, etc. It is so far from the truth. It's not funny. So the inflatable boards, I would say, are a lot stronger than rigid boards in many ways. So firstly, you're carrying your board. You're often going to bump it into things when the wind gets you. And so therefore an inflatable board will just give it a little tap, whereas a rigid board will crack if it hits anything like that. Secondly, have a look at this one. So this is a regular size stand-up paddleboard, an inflatable, and then this one here is your compact size. So when you think about the size of them, if you're a traveller, if you live somewhere close to the city and don't have huge amounts of garage space, if you have a car without roof racks, if you want to ride your bike to the beach, then obviously the inflatable is, there's no other choice. As well as that, like for instance myself, I have a 5 and a 7-year-old. Having a big rigid board for them, it doesn't make sense and they would break it. Whereas for the inflatable board, I can basically give it to them. They can enjoy it, paddle around, carry it, feel like they're the king of the world and do it all themselves. And I'm not at all stressed about that because I know that it's built for much more and it will stand up to that, no problems. The majority of people, an inflatable is going to do it better, last longer, be stronger and be much easier for them to use. So that's, I guess, the why inflatable. Why Red Paddle? Firstly, Red Paddle invented this part of the market. They've been around for sort of 12 years, thereabouts now, and they do it really well. If you have a look at all of their boards, you'll see there's a lot of light colours, a lot of colours that are not going to be affected by the sun, and they're going to last really well. Plus, they sort of suit everyone. They don't go crazy with all these graphics that change every year. They stick to really clear, really nice, crisp colours. Excuse me. Now, more importantly than that though, for most, is if you look at the Red Paddle boards, they're 4.7 inches thick. So what that means, instead of being 6 inches to get the same stiffness, they've been able to pack it into a thinner board, but still have one that's really rigid. So you imagine you're standing there on a taller board, say a 6-inch board, which is what a lot of brands have, and the board feels a lot more, like you're on a log or something. It's a lot rollier, it's got that corky sort of feeling, whereas Red Paddle, being that little bit thinner and still just as stiff, if not a lot stiffer in most cases, you feel a lot more stable and a lot more connected and balanced, which is fantastic and really well done from them. The biggest thing with Red Paddle compared to the other brands is their heat welding. So Red Paddle use an MSL packed around the outside, which basically is a similar material to what most use, but it's a much denser version of that, which means that when they connect the sort of space weave or the fibers from skin to skin, they can do it with a lot more tension and it will last a lot better. So Red Paddle don't use any glue in areas where there's pressure being held. So they heat weld it. And being the stiffer material, plus with no glue, one, it lasts really well. Two, it creates this incredible frame around the outside. And then that allows them to get a tighter, basically a more tense space weave between the two skins. So the board will feel stiffer. And because of the heat welding, it will last a lot longer. And this, obviously combined with their really high density MSL material that they use to encase it all in, means their boards last really well, and hence they can do a 5-year warranty. So as well as that, Red Paddle obviously have a really solid accessories range now, from their storm ponchos that are super warm to their dry bags that clip perfectly onto each of the boards. Dry bags, they really have thought of all those little bits and pieces. You'll see each of the boards right up near the top there. It'll have a mount for your camera or drink bottle or GPS screen to screw into as well. So a lot of really good points there. When you see Red Paddle's backpack, I mean, the backpack alone is just bloody sensational. You can obviously go into travel mode, where if you want to throw it onto a plane and not have straps and things like that anywhere, you can have it like this. When you open that up, you'll see there is a really nice backpack area through there with clips up through the chest there. It's got the lumbar support on the back. Obviously the whole lot is on wheels, so really easy to travel with as well. They've done that incredibly well right through to their compact series, which fits into these tiny bags here, and even better for traveling with than most. Also with Red Paddle, you get the Titan 2 pump. So this is made to be able to fit and roll up inside your board. So you can see there, this actually connects to the side of it. It's got some Velcro there that I won't connect it with right now, but that connects up along the side. This whole lot rolls up inside your board really nicely. When you're ready to use it, you've got a bit that clips off from the side here, sits in across the top. Obviously through there, straight in, and away you go. Now, one thing about the Titan 2 pump as well, you can see 2 big chambers there. So when you've got it clipped back like this, when you're pumping, you're actually using both of those chambers. So you're putting heaps of volume in at once. But as you'll all know, if you've pumped anything up in your lifetime, that you'll get to a certain point where the pressure gets quite hard and pumping's actually quite difficult. When you reach that point, what you do, you actually block off this front one and you just use the little high pressure pump, and then like a bike pump or for a car tire or something, lots of little pumps will get that high pressure into it, and it's really nice and easy to do as well. So I mean, we get people that have bought any type of board or anything like that, they'll come in and just get the pump and come back for a red later when they see how good they are. And now, probably the most important question of all, which board is right for you? Let's talk a little bit about the series, the different series within Red, and also what's changed for 2023. So firstly, to the biggest selling range, the Ride range. Now, we've seen a big change in sizing for this year on their smallest model. So up until 2022, the Ride came in a 9.8, a 10.6 and a 10.8. Okay, the 9.8 is no longer, so they're moving away from the 9.8, and the smallest model in the Ride range will be the 10.0. So again, in that one, I'd say the 9.8 was really fun for surfing, and it was a good board for someone really small, but probably a lot of people weren't quite game to go quite that small, so they've gone up to the 10.0 this year. I think it makes a lot of sense in the range. So the 10.0 instead of the 9.8, the 10.6. The 10.6 comes in this special edition purple, as well as also in the blue, and then there's the 10.8. Now, when you're trying to decide which board you're going to choose, this is probably where your first board will be in the Ride range. Okay, I would say for most people, if you're in that sort of 65 kilos and up from there, 65 up to say around 95 kilos, 100 kilos, the 10.6 is an absolute no-brainer. Okay, the 10.6 will give that smaller rider that bit of extra stability, but also be a board that's not going to overpower you. It may make you lean out to the sides and hurt your back or anything like that. So the 10.6 at 32 inches wide, it has been probably 90% of Red Paddle sales in my mind, for at least for us, because it fits so many people so well. Okay, for the smaller rider or for the rider who wants to do, a bit of all-round paddling, but also have a fun time on the waves and be a little bit more dynamic with their turns, playing around in some waves as well, you might want to consider coming down towards the 10.0. But I'd say, in my mind, around that sort of 60, 65 kilos is probably where you'd start switching up to the 10.6. And then the 10.8, 2 inches difference. So if you look at the height of them, they're almost the same. The important bit here, though, is when you look at the width. So 32 inches and 34 inches for the ride. So a really big difference with the width. That gives one a heck of a lot more stability for the 10.8. But on the negative side, if we're thinking for a family and starting to think, oh, okay, we've got the 90 kilo, 100 kilo rider as the the heaviest rider that'll be using it, but then we've also got the 60, 65 kilo rider. Either are going to do the job beautifully. But if somebody wants to use it and actually get a little bit of a sweat up, maybe instead of going to the gym, start using the more fun outdoor one, then if you're going too wide, you'll find instead of paddling in this comfortable position here, you're all of a sudden having to lean out here, and it can put a little bit of pressure on the lower back. So just think about that if you're thinking which one between those two. But yeah, Red Paddle rides, fantastic all-rounder. A few of the benefits: they do have fins that are not going to break. So the fins are permanent on there, that you don't take them on and off and the rest, but they do have a bit of flex in them as well. So that means that you can use them in shallow areas, you can use them in areas where you might be hitting, rivers and lakes where you might hit sticks or rocks, or, the kids are using them in shallow water down at the creek or something. No problems at all. This is a board that will stand up to that. You'll take it out of the bag, you'll pump it up, and you're away. You don't have to clip, you don't have to worry about losing screws and all that. It's just super simple, no brainer, and that's where everyone should get their first paddleboard from. Okay, when we move across over here, we'll see the sport range. So the sport range offers an 11.0 board, so an 11 foot, an 11 foot 3, where we get up to that 32 inch mark as well, which is sort of the magic number for a lot of people and some forgiveness. The 11.3 comes in this blue colour you can see here, but it also comes in the special edition purple colour. So similar to that ride in the middle there, you can get in the 11.3, and then that also comes in a 12.6 as well. So who does the sport range suit? I would say the sport range is perfect for that paddler who does like to get a bit of a sweat up, does enjoy pushing themselves a little bit, or that just wants an easier paddle and wants to get further. From there, we move across to the Voyager range. Now this is sort of your ultimate touring board. So when you look at this Voyager range, you'll actually see on the bottom of it, up near the front, it's got a V hull. So it's actually made to track as straight as possible. So when you're paddling, you're not doing 5 paddles and facing over there, but you're doing 5 and you're getting a really good amount of thrust forwards. So that's one of the bonuses of the Voyager. It's made for long distances. And you'll see there's heaps of clips, like from top to bottom, through the back here. There's plenty of clips that you can put dry bags on, you can put tents on, you can put all sorts of things, so you can actually voyage and, do some rivers, do some lakes, and do a bit of camping with it as well. So the Voyager comes in a 12.0, a 12.6, and a 13.2. So in terms of size, obviously the longer you go, the more ability you're going to get for glide, longer distances, you're going to be able to hold a bit more on your board, etc. But it's not going to turn quite as easily. But yeah, obviously you've got that efficiency. The shorter voyages, they're going to track really well, be a fun board for the slightly shorter journeys. But an awesome range there that'll get you, out there and really experiencing a lot of different things. One board that's really exciting, 2 boards, that are really exciting that I don't have here right now. One of them is the new Snapper, so 9'4". It's made 1 as a kids board, 2 as a board that you can also use for windsurfing and have a really good time and be able to push it a bit there as well, and 3 as a board that you would take to ride some decent waves with as well. So a 3-in-1, it'll do everything really well, and that's the Snapper. The other one, another range that I haven't spoken about there is the compact range. So in here we've got a 9'6" all-rounder board, so very much this sort of shape, but 9'6" all-rounder, a 5-piece paddle instead of 3, so it goes even smaller, so it fits in the bag beautifully. But yeah, so they do the 9'6", they do an 11'0", they do a 12'0", and this year probably the board that stands out for me as the biggest mover in this entire range is the 8'10" compact. So when you have a look at it, it's got a lot of all-rounder qualities that are going to make it a really fun board for lots of different things. But then you look at the tail, and this tail is just pinned in beautifully as a surf sort of style board as well. So if you're after one board you can travel with to sort of do some exploring, but then you can also double up and get out there and rip some waves on as well, the 8'10" compact from Red Paddle is definitely worth a go. Alright, so with every board that you'll look at this year, you'll have the option of the standard paddle that will come with it, or upgrading the paddle. So the standard paddle that comes with each of them will be the Cruiser Tough paddle. So they've broken the paddles into, I guess, 2 different series. One's the Tough Tech. So there's the Cruiser Tough that's got the, basically just a really tough blade that's going to hit rocks or hit sticks or other things, and it's not going to matter at all. It's built to be tough. And then they're going to have their carbon range as well. So the Cruiser is just a good composite paddle that's going to do everything pretty well, and it's going to suit a lot of people, and still allow you to have a paddle, package that's within a really good price point as well. If you want to move up from here, then you'll either go to the Hybrid Tough, which still maintains that really tough structure that's going to, again, just allow you to get the most out of your inflatable board, or you go up to the Hybrid Carbon style. So the Hybrid Carbon also has a carbon blade as opposed to the Tough Tech. So basically the carbon, if you think you're going to be hitting the bottom, or it's it's going to be used by other people who aren't going to be quite as nice to your board as yourself, then I would always go towards the Tough Tech, because they're a really nice one to paddle as well. If you're going to be in deep water, maybe out in the bay, basically just deep water, and you're going to look after your stuff really well, then you'll get a slightly stiffer blade if you go towards the Hybrid Carbon. But look, both are going to do the job really nicely. These are obviously the special edition purple colors. They come in a blue as well, and then the one that will come with each of the boards as standard is the Cruiser that you looked at, which will come in a green look as well. Alright, and now when you get your Red Paddle board, what to expect. So we're just going to run you through what's in the bag and then how to set it up. I'm going to bring in Jo now, and she's going to run through it all with you. So enjoy. So sometimes you'll see that pump on the inside of the board wrapped up, so you might think it's not there, but it is. Other times, like you just saw there, see down here, the fins will actually have a cover on them just so they can't bend and be a strange shape when you get them. You can obviously keep those, and that's the best way to keep them straight, but there are ways to straighten them if you do happen to fold one in or anything like that at some point. Now this bit is a very, very important one. Now when you get the board, you can see this here, you can either press it down or look at it from the side. I can press that down, or it can be up. Now when it's up, it's a one-way valve. So if I put the pump on now and pumped it up, perfect. However, if when I'd let it down last time, I had turned it and I had hooked it down there, then once I put the pump in, it seals it. I pump the whole board up. When I take that out, the whole board goes down. So you want to make sure that that is all the way up, proud and it's not the same level as this ring around here. That's going to allow you to pump it up and to actually have it stay pumped up. On the pump here, you can see this setting here is where we're going to start. That's going to allow you to put lots of volume into the board. As a very general rule, when you're pumping, you could probably expect to be pumping for around between 4 and 7 minutes is pretty regular. So when you have that clip all the way back, it's a lot harder to pump, but you put lots of volume into it. Once you put that all the way forwards, it completely blocks off the front valve, the front chamber, and it's only using the back chamber. So that's a lot easier to pump, but it takes quite a bit longer and more pumps. Did you find that graded? Is it on off, or could you graded? Okay. We're looking to get it into that third green wedge. So that big one, there's actually a picture of a stand-up paddle border at the top of that wedge. And now that there's pressure in there, that'll happen very fast. So that was up at, it was sitting pretty much on 15 psi. Let's see, do you want to go up to the other end of that one? Do you want to jump onto the other end there and take a couple of steps this way and just see whether it holds a bit? Yep. Yeah. Take a couple of steps on. Come this way a little bit. Come a little bit further. So that there, come another half a step. Yep. So that's pumped to the minimum that would suggest that you paddle with. From there, it happens very fast in terms of, it's a little harder to pump, but still very easy on the clipped off mode. But that's at the absolute minimum there. And yeah, obviously very stiff. Thought we'd check that one. We hadn't done it before, so thought we'd see. Thank you very much, Joe. Red Paddle. Awesome job, guys. Loving the range. I know you guys will too. You can come down and try any of these. We've got a full demo range here at Kite Republic. So drop in at the shop or hit us up at kiterepublic.com.au. We'd love to get you out there and get you having more adventures out on the water. See you guys.